Oh no.
Okay, I knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I broke the belt on the Sur-Ron, but we'll get to that in here just in a little bit. What I want to talk about today are a few of the upgrades that I've made and sort of how I like these upgrades. Now, recently I took a nice little spill out at Cape Fear MX, mostly just washed the front end out. I was charging kind of hard, broke the front fender. So what I found is I could not get a replacement front fender from Unicycle. Sur-Ron didn't have any, so I ended up picking this one up from American Sur-Ron. They actually didn't have a black one in stock, so I got a blue one, painted it, bolted up. It's working out fine. So basically now I have the longer American Sur-Ron rear fender and their front fender. So overall it's fine. The styling is a little different than factory, but doesn't really bother me one way or the other. It does what I need it to do, so happy with that. Now, I knew I wanted a tire upgrade. I live in southeastern North Carolina, so basically mud, loamy soil, sandy soil, that's really what I need a tire for. So the factory tires hadn't been terrible, but again, I was washing out the front. The rear was getting pretty worn, so I wanted to do something front and rear. I ended up on these are Shinko 524s. It's a real dirt bike tire. I'm running the stock wheel, so this is a 70-119, I believe. Got them from Amazon with some Michelin heavy duty tubes. Immediately could definitely tell that they were heavier. Beyond that, they had a much larger gap between the lugs, so it made sense that these things would definitely work better in mud and hopefully in the sand. So got them tossed on, pretty easy to do, and I wanted to kind of go apples to apples the best I could, so I went back out to Cape Fear MX in Elizabethtown and just did a lot of the same trails that I'm used to doing there in general. And what I can say is this: immediately you can feel the weight of the tire. It doesn't have as much sort of pop out of the hole now. That being said, once you start going, it's really not bad. I'm actually really pleased with how stable the bike feels, especially in the looser stuff that we get a lot here in southeastern North Carolina. So real sandy soil, muddy soil, it just feels a lot more planted. Of course, went back out to the motocross track where I had ate it previously, and it definitely feels a lot more stable. It was a little drier, which didn't really help with any conditions when I went again, but really happy with how the bike's hooking up overall. I don't feel like it was enough of a power loss where I'm like, oh man, I need to go get that BAC 4000 upgrade or 8000 upgrade. So far, still running stock power, just happier with the bite and overall feel of this setup. You know, I haven't done a ton of modifications to this thing. I've just been kind of figuring out what it needs and kind of picking at that. Happy with this tire setup. I think if you're looking for something where you need a little bit more grip in that sandy, muddy soil, so far this has been a good option. I haven't tested a ton of tires on this. I'm running around 10 PSI, kind of 10 and 8. A little nervous to go any lower than that. I don't think the benefit's going to be huge. That is a huge pressure difference between the stock Sur-Ron tires, which I was running at about 20 PSI. I was always worried about pinch flats with those tires, so I stayed a little higher than I would traditionally on a real dirt bike tire. Now, that being said, these tires are definitely a lot harder. It's a stiffer compound, so I'm gonna be real curious to see how these things work once I actually get up in the mountains and on rocks and stuff. So I've had the Sur-Ron up there with stock tires before, and they did okay, but when it was wet, they were not good at all. So hoping this is gonna be a better balance overall. Now, I guess let's get into this broken belt situation. So I'm usually very cautious about the mud at Cape Fear MX, and I tend to avoid the big mud pits. I was exploring one of the trails that I usually don't do, got to a small section of mud, a little bit longer than the length of the bike, didn't think it was that deep, and it just swallowed this thing up. It took me a hot minute to get it pushed out. I mean, thankfully the bike doesn't weigh a ton, so it wasn't a nightmare to get it out, but it definitely wasn't the easiest thing. Everything got covered in mud. I mean, just thick, nasty, just miserable mud, and I was super worried. I could tell that it was having trouble going. There was like something in the drive, probably a stick, and so I got the best I could to get my hand in and start pulling out stuff. Rode the bike back to the truck. It was making some noise. They have a pressure washer there, or just a hose you can use. I got it clean the best I could, and as soon as I went to get it back to the truck, I heard snap, and the belt popped loose. So you know, it doesn't look like the teeth had slipped anywhere. My guess is just something got caught in between there, probably a stick or something nasty, and busted it to pieces. So this is the first time this has happened. I thought I'd go ahead and do the chain conversion. And what I learned is that you can't get them right now. It's like everything else. I guess the pandemic has still slowed stuff down. So not going to be doing the chain conversion. Found another belt, got it on the way. So I'll do that. The other thing I figured out too is my rear brakes were kind of feeling awful and really fadey. And so I pulled the pads out here, and I'm pretty worn down on one inside of the pad. I don't know if the wheel got wonky or what happened, but it's ready for new pads. So I'm gonna go to the, I think it's an HO3A. So instead of like the metal one, I'll go with the composite one. And hopefully that'll work well, get this thing stopping a little bit faster. But really like this bike still. It's a lot of fun for what it is. You know, I'm trying not to compare it to my big KTM because it's not that bike, but it's just so fun. It's like neat and easy to take places. I picked up another battery, so I've been able to kind of double my fun time on it, and man, I just super like this thing. And I think anybody that's on the fence about them, if you're looking at them, get it. You know, I'm not a big guy, so for me, like, this is a really form-fitting package. I don't have the taller bars. I didn't go with the 21-inch front wheel. I'd eventually like to put some better front forks on it and maybe tune the suspension up, but for right now, it just keeps being a lot of fun. So that's all for this Sur-Ron now. I'll update you guys as I get some more stuff on this. Probably next video we'll do some more S10 stuff. I actually got it back at the house now, and unfortunately I've been chasing a air leak, so I had to pull the ARB out of the whole carrier out of the 14 bolt, and I took it back up to low range, and we're going to peel it apart and see if it's the seals that actually are at the carrier. So once I get that put back in, this thing's ready to rock and roll. I'll be doing some updated suspension videos and things like that. So if you guys have any questions for me, you can always find me at Mansour Editor on Instagram. And until then, hope you guys are staying safe and having fun. See ya.